Hello, and welcome to Weekly Water Safety with Virginia Beach Parks and Recreation's Aquatic Unit. I'm Andrew, and I'm one of the Aquatics Recreation Specialists. On this week's water safety lesson, we're hoping to explore a few different topics that you can be safe when you're playing in, on, or around the water. And keep in mind those bodies of water may be lakes, rivers, ponds, the beach, your backyard pool, or even one of our recreation center pools once you're able to visit. This week's safety topics include how to recognize an emergency, as well as how to get help when there is an emergency situation. Stay tuned. Okay, first up, we're talking about being able to recognize an emergency. It's important to be able to distinguish between emergency situations and other situations where help may not be immediately needed. Emergency situations are life-threatening, and we need to get help to the people right away who are experiencing these situations. Anybody who falls in the water and they're unable to make it back to the edge of the pool, or they can't get out on their own, is in trouble and they need help right away. Alternatively, a person who's not moving at all and may be floating face down on the bottom of the pool also needs help. Tell a lifeguard or the grown-up that's watching right away if you notice either of these situations. Never try to go and help somebody who's in trouble. If they're actively struggling, they could grab you and then you'll be in trouble as well. In a later safety lesson, we'll go over things you can do in order to assist them until somebody who is trained to respond is able to help. Sometimes a person in trouble can't call out for help at all on their own. In these situations, you'll want to get the attention of a grown-up or a lifeguard if they're available as soon as possible so that they can respond. Again, you shouldn't be rescuing people just yet. You're not trained. Leave that up to the grown-ups and the lifeguards. Now, take a look at this poster for a few moments. I'll give you about 30 seconds. Once you've had time to review it, we'll talk about which situations are emergencies and which ones need help but may not be an emergency situation. Okay, could you spot all the emergencies in the scene? All right, number one, that house is on fire, and that's certainly an emergency. We're going to want to get firefighters there as soon as possible so they can put out that fire and help anybody who may have inhaled smoke or been injured in that fire. Number two, so this one looks like a robber. Although not an emergency and life-threatening to anybody, we're going to want to get the police there right away, so we'll call for help in this situation. Number three, it looks like this person is laying there unconscious, and it looks like the other person is already calling for help. This is an emergency as well. Number four, it looks like they've had an automobile accident. Although this is not an emergency, they're probably going to want to call for help as well. Number five, this one looks like the young lady is struggling in the water. In this case, it is an emergency, and we're going to want to notify a lifeguard right away if they're already not responding to it. All right, our last one, number six. Although they look like they're hurt, this is also not an emergency. So in this situation, we'll want to get help, but it's not life-threatening to the person. Did you spot all of the emergencies? Now, after we've determined that there's an emergency, it's really important that we know how to get help. In some situations, it's as simple as going and getting a grown-up or a lifeguard's attention, but sometimes you need the additional help by either a police officer, a firefighter, an EMT, or other first responder in order to deal with other life-threatening situations. So, immediate threats to life, we need additional help for. So unless you have the training to respond to it, we should not be dealing with those situations. Let's figure out how to call for help and what's needed when we call for help. It's really important that whenever you see somebody who's in trouble, that you remain as calm as possible. Tell a grown-up or the lifeguard who's watching you guys as soon as possible. If a lifeguard or grown-up is not immediately nearby, call 911 or the local emergency number if it is an emergency situation. Again, 911 is who we'll want to call. When you get on the phone with dispatchers, you're going to tell the people what's going on. Don't hang up. So the person who answers the phone may be able to tell you how to help as well. The things they're going to want to know. They want to know who you are, so tell them your name. You're going to want to know where you are, so you'll need to know the address for where you're at. They're going to want to know how to get in touch with you in case you get disconnected, so you'll want to know the phone number. And they want to know details about the accident, so what's going on in the situation, so that they can better tell you how to help in those cases. Sometimes there's multiple people who are hurt or in trouble. Also, you may want to relay to them what type of first aid may be given already. So if you notice somebody is giving CPR or they're helping bandage the person, that's important information that'll end up being relayed. Now, this last bullet about when to hang up, don't hang up until dispatchers tell you that the call to come to an end. Stay on the phone with them as long as possible because situations may change as you're dealing with them. And we want to make sure that they have the most up-to-date information as possible. Now, keep in mind, we only want to call 911 or the local emergency number if there's a real emergency. Never call this number unless help is actually needed. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this week's weekly water safety lesson. We hope everybody's had a great time. We look forward to seeing you next week when we're talking about looking before you leap. Stay safe.